Okay, is everyone ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
All
Yes.
right, here we go. The first thing I want you to do is open Procreate, and that is the icon with the little color swish. Oh, I think if I hold on it, it'll wiggle. It's this icon right here. This will open Procreate. So once you open Procreate, you'll see the name of Procreate in the upper left corner. And where we are right now, this is called the gallery. This is the gallery homepage, and you should see little thumbnails of your images. We want to look in the upper right corner. You'll see select, import, photo, and a plus sign. You want to touch the plus sign. And you can do that with either your pencil or your finger. That'll bring your new Canvas dialog box up. What we want to do is we're going to build a new canvas to work on. So what you want to do is touch the plus sign in the black box in the new Canvas dialog box. And that'll bring up your custom Canvas dialog box. In the custom Canvas dialog box, you'll see on the bottom left pixels, inches, centimeters, and millimeters. I like to work in inches. We're going to build our canvas to the size of the painting that you're going to be painting. I'm going to paint my painting at 12 by 12. So up right under Untitled Canvas, you'll see width. Touch the numbers next to width. You'll see a blue cursor blinking. Once you see that blue cursor blinking, type in your width. I'm going to type in 12 because I'm going to paint my painting 12 by 12, 12 wide, 12 high. Next, touch the numbers next to height and type in the height of the canvas that you're going to be painting on, the paper that you're going to be painting on. Under that, you will see DPI. We always want to work in 300. So if you do not have 300, touch the number next to DPI until you see the blue cursor blinking and type in 300. Next, touch Create in the upper right corner in the orange square. That'll create your canvas. This white area, this is your canvas. Is everybody with me? I don't mind if you interrupt me at any time. If you start to fall behind, just speak up and I'll stop and I'll help you to get caught up. Okay, here we go. The next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be bringing the image that you're going to paint, that you're going to do the line drawing. We're going to bring that image in now. So if you look in the upper left corner, you'll see the word gallery. And right next to the word gallery, you'll see a little wrench. Touch the wrench. That wrench will turn blue. That means that that's an active tool. By touching that wrench, you'll open the Actions dialog box. In the Actions dialog box, you'll see 6 options across the top. You'll see Add, you'll see Canvas, Share, Video, Preference, and Help. While we're in the Help dialog box, if you look at the listing, the options under Help, you'll see Procreate Handbook. Under that, Get Started with Procreate. If you like what we're doing in this class and you want to go further in Procreate, I personally suggest that you read the Procreate Handbook. Getting started with Procreate, that is little videos showing you how to get started with Procreate, teaching you about all the tools and all the functions. So if you're better at reading, read the handbook. If you're better at watching videos and following along, you might want to start with Get Started with Procreate, because those are little videos. Okay, back to the beginning of the list, Add. Under Add, we want to insert a photo. That'll bring up your photo gallery that's on your iPad. I'm going to use this photo. Once you touch the photo that you want to open, it'll place that photo on your canvas. The canvas is our watercolor paper. The next thing you want to do is you want to look down at the bottom of the page. You'll see freeform, uniform, distort, and warp. We're going to want to select uniform. Uniform, when we start to resize this image, and to resize this image, what you're going to do is you're going to touch any of those blue dots and pull or push to resize the image. You can touch any blue dot, side blue dot, top, right blue dot, any corner, any side to resize. If you have, by checking uniform, when you resize, it will resize proportionally. And what I mean by that is if you have anything but uniform selected, such as freeform, when you go to resize, it will throw it out of proportion like this. We don't want that to happen. So make sure that you have uniform selected so that when you resize, it's going to be proportional. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, the next thing we're going to do is touch down below under uniform. You'll see some more options: snapping, flip horizontal, flip vertical, rotate 45 degrees. Fit canvas is what you want to touch. Next, turn off the selection arrow by just touching it. You see how that selection arrow is blue? That blue means that that tool is active. We want to turn off that selection tool, so just touch it. You'll see the little blue dots disappear. Now, if your screen looks anything like mine, it looks like my image is being pushed all the way to the edge, and I'm having a trouble seeing the edges on the top and the bottom. I want to see the edges on the top and the bottom. So to do that, let me teach you some hand gestures. The first hand gesture that I want to teach you is the zoom out and zoom in hand gesture. And the way you do this is you put your thumb and your pointer finger together. I'm sorry, put your thumb and forefinger apart from each other. Touch the screen and pinch those two fingers together. When you use that hand gesture, you will zoom out. When you pull your two fingers apart, you'll zoom in. You can also rotate by just turning your fingers in a rotating motion. So I'm going to zoom out so that I can now see the bottom of my image and the top of my image. I don't want the top and bottom pushed all the way to the edges. I want to be able to see all the way around my image. Another hand gesture that I'd like to teach you is the undo and the redo. I just talked with Samia about undoing. It's just your any two fingers. I use my pointer finger and my middle finger. One tap will undo anything that you did. Three taps will redo an undo. And we'll talk more about undos and redos here in a few minutes when we start to draw. All righty. Let's get ready to draw our line drawing. To do that, we want to look in the upper right corner. You'll see 5 tool options. You'll see a paintbrush. You'll see this is called the smudge tool. We only use that when we draw, so we don't need to worry about that tool. Next is the eraser. We'll be using the eraser. Next is the layers palette. The 2 white overlapping squares, that's our layers palette. Next to that, I don't want to touch that yet because I don't want it to open. Next to that, you'll see a dot, and it could be any color, but that dot is your color picker dot. That allows you to pick whatever color you want to draw or paint with. So let me go ahead and touch the layers icon, the 2 squares that are overlapping, and that will open your layers palette. You should see a little thumbnail of your image. Next to that, you'll see the name of your image, layer 1. Next to that, you'll see an N. Let's touch that N. That'll open your opacity palette. You'll see the word opacity underneath the thumbnail. To the right, you'll see the word max. Under max, you'll see a little blue dot. Touch that blue dot with your pencil and push it to the left. See how your image is blurring out? It's dimming down. We want our image on layer 1 to be dimmed down so that when we draw on top of that, we can see our line drawing. If we leave that all the way up to max, it's going to be hard to see our line drawing. I like to dim it down to about 50%. Anywhere in that area, 50, it doesn't have to be exactly 50%. It could be a little less, could be a little bit more. Once you get to that point, touch the layers, the layer 1 square, and that'll close that opacity palette. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to lock that layer 1 down. We don't want to draw on layer 1. We want to keep layer 1 nice and clean. That'll be our reference layer. We don't want any drawings on it. So we're going to create another layer on top of layer 1, and that'll be the layer that we'll draw on. We're going to create a layer 2, and that will be the layer that we'll be drawing on. But we want to lock layer 1 so we don't draw on it. And the way to do that is put your finger in that right in the middle of that blue box and quickly push to the left. Touch and push. If you touch too long, it'll bring up another dialog box. And if that happens, just touch layer 1 box again, and that dialog box will disappear. Touch the layer and push to the left. You should see lock, duplicate, and clear. Touch lock. Now you will see a little white lock next to layer 1. That means you cannot draw on this layer. Once you have layer 1 locked, now what we want to do is we want to open up a new layer that we're going to draw on. So in the layers palette, touch the plus sign. You'll now see layer 2. And this is the layer that we're going to draw on. You'll see that layer 2 is blue. It's highlighted blue. That means that's the active layer. If I touch layer 1, it'll turn blue. That means that's the active layer. If layer 1 is active and I close my layers palette and try to draw, I'm not going to be able to draw because my layer 2 is not activated. If this happens, just touch cancel, go back to your layers palette, look, uh-oh, layer 1 is activated. I need layer 2 activated to draw on it. So just touch layer 2, it'll activate layer 2, close your layers palette, and now I'll be able to draw on that layer. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to pick a brush. So touch the brush icon. It'll open up the brush library for you. And you'll see lots of different categories. You'll see sketching, inking, drawing. We want to select calligraphy. Under calligraphy, look for monoline. You'll see lots of different options, blotchy, chalk, some of them I can't even pronounce, streaks. Look for monoline. Once you've selected monoline, touch the brush again, and that will close the brush dialog box. Now, what we want to do is we want to make sure that that brush is nice and thin. We don't want a thick brush. We want a very thin brush. We want a thin line drawing, not a thick line drawing. So to do that, come on over to the far left and you'll see some sliders. You'll see two sliders, one on top of the other. This top slider is your brush size. See that little dot getting bigger and smaller? We want the smallest size brush, so push that slider all the way to the bottom. When you push it up, it makes a bigger brush. When you push it down, it makes the smaller brush. We want it all the way down to the bottom, 1%. The slider underneath the brush slider, the brush size slider, is your opacity slider. That will give you 100% opacity. And then if you want a very dim line, you would push that down. See how that dot is turning lighter and lighter as I bring that slider down? We want that slider all the way to the top, 100 opacity. The last thing we're going to do before we get started drawing is we want to make sure that the color of our brush is black. So up to the right, that dot, there's 5 tools in the upper right corner: the brush, the smudge, the eraser, the layers. The dot is our color picker. Touch that. At the bottom of the color picker, you'll see 5 options, different types of color picking options. You'll see disc, classic, harmony, value, and palettes. We want to select classic. Under classic, you'll see 3 lines with dots in them. This line on top, the second line, we want to push that dot all the way to the left. And the third line, this dot, we want to push that dot all the way to the left. That will give you your blackest black. To close the color picker, just touch that dot. The upper right black now. Should be black. Now, remember I told you about the hand gestures. I'm going to take my thumb and pointer finger, and I'm going to put it in an area where I want to draw. So I want to draw, first thing I'm going to draw is the books. So I'm going to put my I'm going to put my thumb and forefinger close to the books. I'm going to put those two fingers together, and I'm going to put them close to the edge of the books, and I'm going to pull my fingers apart to zoom in on that area. I'm going to draw the straight line of the top of the book there. And to do that, I'm going to also rotate it just a little bit so that it's comfortable. It'll be a more comfortable position for me to be drawing. To do that, I'm going to start here and I'm going to start drawing. And I can draw a pretty straight line, but not a perfectly straight line. What this program will do for you is if you start drawing a line, as soon as you stop and keep your pencil on the screen, stop and hold, it'll straighten out that line for you. Now, say your line, let me do that again. Oops. Say when the line snapped, you're not where you should be. If you keep your pencil on the paper, you can move that line around. You can make it shorter, you can make it longer, you can put it right where you want. But say you got close and you let go, and you're like, oh no, now what do I do? It's not right where I want it. If you look to the middle top, you'll see the word edit line. And if you touch that, that will bring up an editing dialog box. It will also put blue dots at the ends of your line. And those blue dots you can move, just like when we had the blue dots on the resizing the image. You can touch those blue dots and you can now move your line around to get it right where you want it. Once you've got your line positioned properly, touch anywhere on the screen and that'll close that editing dialog box. Let's do that.
Can you show where that editing dialog box was?
Yep,
I missed it. Thank you.
Yep, I'm going to do it again right now. I'm going to do this line down here. I'm drawing my line. I'm not picking my pencil up off the screen. I'm keeping my pencil on the screen. Hold it. And that line should snap straight for you. I'm still holding my pencil on the screen. I can move that line around. I can shorten it, lengthen it, move it around. As soon as I get it where I want, I let go. And now you cannot manipulate that line unless you touch the middle top of the page. You'll see the word line with an arrow down. Touch that. And that'll bring up an editing dialog box. It will also bring blue dots to the ends of your line. Those blue, you only get one chance to do this. I touched the screen and it closed the editing dialog box. I have to restart that line again. To undo that line, I'm tapping two fingers on the screen anywhere. It'll delete the line. I have to start that line again. I'm starting the line again. My pencil is still on the screen. I'm moving my line around. I'm getting it as close as I can. I'm letting go of my pencil. Now I'm touching the word line with the arrow down at the top of the screen. It brings up the editing dialog box. It gives me two options. It's asking me, do I want to keep it a line or do I want to go with an ellipse? I want to keep it a line. I see the blue dots at the end of my
That's
line.
enough.
Mhm.
Okay, go lay down somewhere.
Okay. I'm going to touch the blue dot with my pencil to move my line into place. On the right, on the left, I want to move that line also. I like the way that looks. Now I'm going to touch my screen with my one finger anywhere on the screen to close the editing dialog box. Now I can no longer manipulate that line. That's your last chance. If you don't like what you have, tap the screen anywhere with two fingers and that'll undo that line and then you'll have to redraw that line. Okay. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to draw a curved line, a line that curves out and a line that curves in. This program calls those curved lines arcs. I'm going to draw this curved line around this vase. I'm going to start about here, draw the best I can, and look how wiggly it is. I'm going to keep my pencil on the screen, and that line will snap to a nice clean arc. But maybe I don't like that arc. So again, at the top of the page in the center, you'll see the word arc. Touch that, and that will bring up your editing dialog box. It'll also put little dots on that arc so that you can push or pull those little dots to manipulate that arc. When we had the line, we had a blue dot at the ends of the line. Because this is an arc, we have another blue dot in the center, and that allows us to manipulate that arc like this. So you can really get precise with it. Once you get that arc fitted the way that you're happy with it, touch anywhere on the screen with one finger, and that'll close the dialog box and make those little blue manipulating dots disappear. Now you can no longer manipulate this line, this arc. The only way to redo that arc is to tap with two fingers on the screen to undo, make it disappear, and try it again. Does anybody need some more time to practice this? Okay, let's continue. Again, I'm taking my finger, my thumb and pointer finger, and I'm putting it on my vase, and I'm rotating. I'm pulling my fingers apart to zoom in. I'm pushing my fingers together to zoom out. I want to concentrate on this area right here. I'm going to make a curve that curves in now. I'm going to start up here. Draw. You don't even have to be careful, really. I mean, just make an arc. Hold your pencil on the paper. You can move that arc around. Shorten it, lengthen it. I see the word arc at the top of the page. I'm going to touch that to open my editing dialog box. It's giving me 3 different options on this one. I'm going to stick with arc. You don't touch arc, just leave that there. And now you can touch the blue dots. Push, pull with your pencil, the blue dots. You've got a center one here until you get as close as you can to what you're looking for. I like that. I'm going to touch the screen with one finger to close that editing dialog box. I don't like this area right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up and grab my eraser tool. Upper right corner, you'll see the paintbrush, smudge tool. This is your eraser tool. The eraser tool, just like the brush tool, if you touch it twice, it'll open up the brush library. And you can pick any brush you want for the eraser tool. We're going to stay with monoline. But what we are going to do is we're going to make that brush bigger. If I keep that brush for my eraser tool monoline and make it the smallest brush available, when I go to erase, it's going to erase like this. It's going to just erase a portion of that line. I want a bigger brush so that when I go to erase, it's going to erase it nice and clean like this. I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer by taking my thumb and forefinger and pulling them apart to zoom in a little bit closer. I'm going to use my eraser tool and erase this line that I don't like. Now, unfortunately, this program will not draw an S curve. And that's what this is. This is an S curve right here. It goes in and then out. If I try to draw that and hold my pencil on the paper until my line snaps, it will only give me a straight line. It won't give me an arc and it won't give me an S curve. So we are going to have to manually work in this area right here. To do that, we want to go back to our brush tool. And your size here with this size slider it will still be down at the 1%. It won't change until you change it. Even though you change tools, if you go to the eraser and you enlarge the eraser size, still your brush size will stay where you left it, the last adjustment that you made. So we're still
Can I,
we still be
can I
doing.
interrupt you, Mary, please?
Yeah.
Can you please go over the eraser, choosing the eraser part,
Yep.
please?
Yep.
I missed that. Yeah.
No problem. Here we go.
Thank you.
Upper right corner,
Yeah, I can
we
see
have
the.
the paintbrush, smudge tool, and the eraser. We want to click on the eraser, click on it again. That'll bring up your brush library.
Okay.
We want to make sure that you are in the calligraphy selection. You'll see drawing, painting,
Yeah.
artistic. Go again to calligraphy. Make sure that you have your monoline selected. Now we're going to close that dialog box by touching the eraser again and erase that area that was poking up. Here, let me get it back. That area there that I was poking up, I want to erase that. I don't like the way my line was
Thank
poking.
you.
Now I'm going to go back to my brush tool and I'm going to now complete that line the best I can. I can go a little bit at a time. I don't like that. I'm hitting 2 fingers on my screen because I don't like that last stroke. Try it again. And that's the best I can do to connect those 2 lines. I'm taking my 2 fingers, thumb and pointer finger, and I'm rotating my image back so that it's facing front. I'm going to concentrate now on this ball. I'm going to try to draw around this ball You could do two arcs and join them together, or you can just draw around this ball best you can, hold, and look how it snaps. Perfect circle. But I'm not touching the edges. So again, you've got at the top of the page the word ellipse now. You'll always get, a different word depending on the type of line you're drawing. This one is recognizing that I want to draw a circle, an ellipse. So now I touch that to bring up the editing, circle editing, the ellipse editing dialog box. The ellipse, if I select ellipse, it'll allow me to throw that circle off a bit. But if I pick circle, that'll give me a perfect circle. Although doing that, it's going to now not let me do any manipulation. So what I'm going to do is I'm two fingers on the screen to undo what I just did because I have to start over again. Draw my circle. Look, I don't even have to be careful. Hold my pencil on the screen. Don't let go until it snaps. Now I'm going to have to edit that because I'm not touching the edges properly. Touch editing dialog box. And again, you'll see ellipse and circle. Just stay with ellipse because as soon as you touch that editing dialog box, it's not going to allow you to manipulate your piece any longer. Sorry, I have to do that again. Here we go. Drawing my circle, sloppy circles just fine. Holding my pencil on the screen until I feel the snap. Let go. Touch the top of the screen to bring up my editing dialog box. And now I can touch the little blue dots and just pull that ellipse into place. You'll have to manipulate each blue dot until you're comfortable with that circle. And once you're happy with your drawing, touch the screen with one finger anywhere, and it will close the editing dialog box. Now I'm going to zoom out by taking my pointer finger and my thumb, and I'm going to pull those two fingers together to zoom back out and look at what I have. Let's look at what we have. Let's look and see what our line drawing is looking like. If you go in the upper right corner, the two overlapping white squares, this is your layers tool. Touch your layers tool. That'll bring up your layers palette. If you look in your layers palette, we should have layer 2 on top. That's what we're drawing on. And layer 1 underneath. That's where our thumbnail is. To the very far right, you'll see little white boxes with check marks in them. If you touch the check mark in that white box, it will turn off that layer. And by turning off layer 1, we turned off our image, and now we can only see layer 2. That's our line drawing. I want to turn my thumbnail back on. Touch the two blue squares at the top of the right-hand side to close the layers palette. And let's continue drawing. I'm going to take my thumb and pointer finger and zoom in on one of these leaves. Touch the leaf, pull your fingers apart, and that'll zoom in on that leaf. And now I'm going to start to draw the leaf. And look how detailed you can get. Zoom in, rotate so that it's at a comfortable angle for your drawing. I'm constantly rotating, zooming in and zooming out as I work.
Are you drawing without lifting your pencil?
You can, or you can lift it at any time. You can draw, stop, draw some more, stop. You can draw from a different area.
But how do you not get a break?
Whatever's comfortable for your hands. Sometimes I'll be drawing and then it's just feels like it's just getting too far. And sometimes I just have to stop and
I,
maybe zoom in or rotate to make it
I,
a
I
comfortable.
understand that, Mary, but I don't see any breaks in your lines. How do you have that? I know it is a zigzagged line, but it
Mhm.
has absolutely no breaks if you lift a pencil. When I lift my pencil, I get breaks.
I'm not lifting my pencil.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I'll do that again. My pencil is touching the screen.
Yeah,
I'm drawing.
yeah. But
I'm now
if you,
oop, I left my pencil. If you leave your pencil and not move, like not if you stop at any time and
uh-huh.
leave your pencil on the screen, the your line will snap. That's what happened just now. See how the
Yeah.
line is really
Yes.
rigid?
Yeah.
That's because I stopped and left my pencil on the screen. The program will snap to what it thinks you want. And no, I don't want that. So I'm going to double tap. I'm going to tap with two fingers and it'll give me back the line drawing that I had. If I
Oh,
tap again, it will make that line disappear.
yes.
If I'm like, oh no, I wanted that line. Now you can tap with three fingers and it will bring that line back.
But how do you continue now with a smooth?
Now I'm zooming in and I'm
Yeah.
just going to start where I left off right here and continue.
So you just put the point of your pencil on that last edge.
Yes, right
Okay.
here where
Okay.
I left off, right here where I left off,
Yeah.
that's where I'm going to touch and start again.
Okay.
And you can either do that or you could start over here and then join there like that.
Okay.
You don't have to touch where you left off.
Okay.
I'm going to continue. Like I said, I'm constantly zooming in, zooming out, rotating my image so that it's at a comfortable angle for me to be drawing. You don't have to start here where you left off. You don't have to start there. You can start anywhere. I'm going to start here. the veins. I want these veins to be organic. Oh, I don't like that though. I'm going to undo. Let's try it again. Actually, that's a pretty straight line. Let's go ahead and let it snap. Drawing my line, keeping my pencil on the screen. Manipulating it. I see that the tip is a little curvy, so I'm only going to make my line to, let's say, here. And then I'm going to draw the rest manually because it looks like it has a little bit of a curve going on right there. The veins. I'm zooming in so I can really see what's going on here. Once you get going, it's pretty relaxing. I'm taking my pointer finger and thumb and I'm rotating my image back into position so I can see what's going on and where I want to go next. Let's move into these flower petals. I've got my thumb and pointer finger right on the rose. I'm pulling my fingers apart to zoom in. I think that I will draw this bottom petal, so I'm going to rotate my image upside down so that I have a better angle for drawing. I'm stopping, starting again, stopping, rotate, starting again. Stopping. Here, I'm going to start. Look at that. That's a pretty straight line. Let's snap a line on that. Drawing the line, holding my pencil on the paper until it snaps straight, and then just join where I left off. Let's go ahead and do the other side of the vase here. This is an outside arc, so I'm going to draw that arc the best I can, keep my pencil on the paper until it snaps. Let go. I'm going to zoom in. That was the outside arc. Let's go for the inside arc. Putting my pencil on the screen, drawing that inside arc best I can, holding till it snaps, let go. To manipulate that arc, I'm going to look at the top of the page and say edit arc, touch that word, those words edit arc. I'll see my blue dots. I can move that line, that arc, wherever I want it. I'm going to move it right there. I'm going to touch the screen with one finger to deactivate that editing dialog box. And right here, I don't like what's happening right here. So I am going to come up to the upper right corner and select my eraser and erase this portion of the line. I'm going to go back to my brush tool and continue that arc. Join those two lines together. Let's look and see how far I've gotten on my line drawing. I'm going to go to the upper right corner and touch the two overlapping square boxes to open up my layers dialog box. To the far right of layer 1, I'm going to look for that white box with a check mark in it and touch that box to turn off that layer. And this is where I am so far. I'm going to touch that now it's a black box. I'm going to touch that black box again to turn that layer back on. I'm going to touch the two overlapping blue squares to close the layers palette. I'm going to zoom in and rotate my image to continue drawing. I'm drawing an arc. I'm keeping my pencil on the screen until I feel and see the snap. I'm going to touch the word arc at the top of the page to bring up the editing feature. I'm going to move the blue dots so that my line looks nice and clean. I'm going to touch the screen with one finger anywhere to close the editing dialog box. If there's any areas that you're not happy with, such as this area right here, you can always grab your eraser tool in the upper right corner and erase that area. Reselect your brush tool and clean that area up. I'm pinching my two fingers together to zoom out. And I think that we are at the point where we can start to save our image. Let's pretend like I drew the whole thing. Does anybody have any questions? I have to take a sip of tea.
You're doing a really super good job of teaching.
Thank you. I'm nervous, but I know that you're all my friends, so that makes it a lot easier for me.
You're doing a great job, Mary.
Thank you.
Great job.
Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to save our file. To prep this image to save your file, you're going to want to open up your layers palette. To do that, again, upper right corner, those two overlapping square boxes, touch those two overlapping square boxes. That will open your layers palette. We want to turn off layer 1. We only want to see our line drawing. We don't want to save the image in the background. We only want to save the line drawing. So layer 1, the right-hand white box with the check mark, touch that white box. That will turn off your image, and you should only see your line drawing. Touch the two overlapping blue boxes at the top right of your page. That will close your layers dialog box. Now in the upper left, you'll see the word gallery. Touch gallery. And that will bring your image into the Procreate gallery. To save that image, we want to look in the upper right corner. We'll see select, import, photo, and a plus sign. We want to touch select. You'll see little dots underneath each thumbnail. And what you want to do is you want to touch inside of that dot of the line drawing that you just drew. That will select that line drawing. It'll put a check mark in that circle and it will turn that circle blue. Blue in this program means that that's the activated tool or file or layer. When you see blue, that means that whatever you touched is activated. So we see that that my untitled artwork over here, my line drawing is selected. When you see that happen, we want to now say share. You'll see in the upper right corner of your screen the words preview, share, duplicate, delete, and an X. We want to touch share. That'll bring up your image format dialog box. And these are the formats that you can share. You can or share or save. We're saving this file now. So you'll see Procreate, PSD, which is Photoshop document, PDF and JPEG, PNG, TIFF. We're going to want to save two different files. I suggest that you always save two different formats because wherever you take it, they might require different formats. They might be more comfortable with one than the other. The two most common formats are PDF and JPEG. Let's go PDF first. I'm touching PDF. Under PDF, you'll have three options: good, better, and best. Good is going to be fine for a line drawing. These are different qualities. So I'm going to touch good. And now it will bring up a dialog box that gives me the option on how to save this file. Do I want to save it as a AirDrop? Sometimes, I don't know how many of you are familiar with AirDrop, but you could AirDrop this file to somebody else. I very seldom use that. You can message it to somebody, or you can email it to somebody. So that's your PDF option. I'm going to close this dialog box, and now I'm going to show you how to save a JPEG. So again, the little dot underneath your line drawing should be blue with a check mark. We want to touch share in the upper right corner. I'm going to touch JPEG this time. Under JPEG, pretty much the same dialog box. You can AirDrop, you can message, you can email. Another thing under JPEG that you can do is you can save the image into your photo gallery. And to do that, you would touch share, save image. And that will save your image into your photo gallery. It'll be in your photos on your iPad. And I don't know how everybody is set up, but when I save something on my iPad, it will also save it onto my computer. So it'll be in my photo gallery on my computer. And by doing that, then I can just open that up on my computer and print it right off of my computer. So if you're printing at home, you might want to do a JPEG if you're going to be taking it to Kinko's or CVS or Office Depot, someplace else, or your friend's house. You might want to take with you a JPEG and a PDF. To close up this sharing mode here, just touch the X in the upper right corner, and now you're back to the Procreate gallery. If you want to continue to work on your artwork, just touch your image, and it'll bring it right back into Procreate. Go back up to the Layers dialog box in the upper right corner, the two overlapping white squares, touch those to open up your Layers palette. Touch the little square next to layer 1, that's your dimmed down image, to turn that image back on. Touch the two blue squares to close the layers dialog box. And now you're right back into your file where you can continue to draw. I'm selecting my pencil tool. Make sure your pencil tool is selected and just continue to draw. Oh, it didn't work. Why didn't it work? It didn't work because in my layers dialog box, layer 1 is selected. my layer 2 that I'm drawing on was not selected. So make sure that layer 2 is selected before you close your layers dialog box. That way you can continue to draw. Again, opening my layers dialog box. If layer 1 is selected, it has a lock on it. So if I close that layers dialog box and I try to lock with that layer being selected, I'm going to see this. Just hit cancel, go back to the layers dialog box, make sure you have layers 2 selected, close that layers dialog box by touching the 2 overlapping squares, and you should be able to continue drawing. I'm going to go back to my gallery mode by touching gallery in the upper left corner. And now I'm done. Then I can close the program and get to watercoloring now.